Here we are again. So nothing happened this time around with my computer build. It was a matter of just, it's Kruma time. Before I get started and show you everything that's on the table pretty much, today I was able to get an Xbox Series S, not an X, not a PS5. So I was like, cool, I was able to nab one. However, Walmart, I guess, just had them readily available, and not a lot of people were really going crazy at them like the other systems. So after just thinking about it for a while and like talking over with my wife, I pretty much canceled the order. I'm primarily now a PC gamer, which I never would have thought I would say that, but as time goes on, things change. PC gaming in itself is just miles better, and it makes more sense, especially when it comes to the needs that I have. Just to cut it short, there was really not going to be a lot of usage with the Xbox Series S. I barely use my Xbox One now because of me doing PC gaming. Like, the only reason I was even thinking about it was like, I could do a review of it and stuff like that. But that was pretty much it. So again, I canceled it. However, pretty much it got to the point like, Darius, you just dropped $300 on this Xbox Series S. Now, what's stopping you from upgrading like a part or two on your PC? Pretty much what led me to here. My PC has been complete for a little while now. I'm not exactly sure how long, but it's been like almost a year, or probably a year, I don't know. At the time, I did not know. Now, my computer build was pretty solid, I would honestly say. There was a bottleneck issue going on. It wasn't really that apparent to me. My RX 580 was actually bottlenecking the system. I have a Ryzen 7 3700X. I used to have a Ryzen 5 3600, but an issue occurred, and I was able to get the 3700X thanks to my wife. Pretty much after, doing some research and figuring things out, I went to Micro Center. I was set on getting an RX 5700 XT. The specs of my PC can easily run, especially from a power wattage standpoint. My wife bought me a computer case, and I am very excited for that for Christmas. And on top of that, my wife purchased me another motherboard, an ATX motherboard, and it's an MSI. It's a B450. It is a B450, not a 550, but that's fine. I don't plan on getting, the 4th gen Ryzen processors right now. So now we have an ATX motherboard instead of a MATX or micro ATX, a new case, and a new graphics card. So we're pretty much rebuilding my computer today. So here's the new part. Here we have the AMD 5700 XT, 8 gigs of GDDR6 memory, the B450 Gaming Pro Carbon Max with Wi-Fi motherboard, and the McCube 310. Cool ass computer case. Like, I'm very excited about this case. Very excited. And I'll show you mainly why pretty much like once we get to that point. Now, I am going to be taking obviously all the parts that were in my old build, besides the motherboard, the old graphics card, and etc. I was going to take the Wraith Stealth Cooler that I did have in my Ryzen 7, but I'm actually going to swap it for one that I've had laying around for a long while. We're going to be using this bad boy, the Arctic Freezer 34. This is actually cool my processor a bit better, and it'll be a lot quieter, because I honestly can hear that processor fan spinning quite a bit, especially under heavy load. All right, without further ado, let's get this started. Also, we'll be taking the Cooler Master intake fans that was in my previous PC case because, I didn't feel like buying any new ones, and those work just fine. Again, like I mentioned, I'm taking the RAM, I'm taking the processor, I'm just not taking the cooler. So one thing that I did not do before doing this, I did not run like a benchmark or anything like that to get the thermal paste to get, like melty or liquidy. So that's going to be a little bit of a struggle, but I should be able to get this off just fine as long as I, of course, do it carefully. All right, was able to get this off without much hassle, and we're going to now swap the processor over to the new motherboard. Installing the Arctic Freezer 34 CPU cooler now. All right, now to showcase why this case is cool, and I haven't even done this yet. Oh, there it goes. It is magnet, and it's a really good magnet too. Like, no screws, nothing like that. Comes right off. Not even joking, guys. These screws are such a bitch for some reason to get into this case. Well, it was kind of tight removing them from the old one. I'm using a drill. Like, they're so hard to get in with a screwdriver, like with your hand. All right, so that is the new build. Editor Darius here. As you can see, I goofed up quite a bit. The processor fan, or the Arctic Freezers fan, I somehow had a freaking moment and decided to swap the fan onto the other side of the heatsink. This has been fixed. Please do not come after me in the comments. Everything is good with that. Again, I don't know what occurred to me to make that change, but again, it was corrected. So please ignore. Thanks, bye. And I am very excited about it. Just a quick side note, I was running OBS Studio to record the gameplay, so the CPU temp probably raised by like 5 degrees Fahrenheit, to be honest, when doing so, as it does use CPU resources. So just keep that in mind, as well as some frames were lost when using OBS Studio to record the gameplay, although the frames themselves honestly were pretty high each time. Here's a quick montage of all the benchmarks that I ran on this computer. Check it out. Just a few things just to mention. The RX 5700 XT is a hot card. Like it runs hot. The RX 580 wasn't really something that was hard to maintain a decent temperature. And the RX 5700 XT is not necessarily hard to maintain a good temperature, but just because if you were not aware, this card can safely run up to 110 degrees Celsius. Now that is ridiculous. And I did some digging, and this is a true claim by AMD themselves. So this card can run pretty damn hot. And with that being said, of course, with a card running as hot as that, and it never has hit that point, of course, with my testing, it does heat up other components, such as the processor. I did run into some issues yesterday where the CPU did get roughly to about 190 degrees Fahrenheit. This is indeed where and how I goofed up. Hence why it's fixed. And this was me not realizing that, oh, it's because of the graphics card really making the case hot. And don't get me wrong, the airflow in this case is pretty okay. There's not a lot of mesh on the case at all. You know, it's mainly glass, of course, on the side panel. And then the other side panel is just the metal casing all around. And there are some holes like around the gaps of the case, but there's not a lot of places for airflow in this. This case does an okay job. I am planning on adding another intake fan, as I do only have 2 intakes and 2 exhausts right now. I am thinking that a 3rd intake will cool things down a bit, but as of right now, I am happy with the temps, and again, it's going to get better. I also am running at an offset voltage on the CPU, and I only decreased it by 0.1 volts. So again, nothing crazy. It still has pretty much the same performance, hasn't lost any performance like when doing a Cinebench, for example. Since it's running at a lower voltage, it will allow for better temps and pretty much the same or even slightly better performance. One little gripe that I had with the case is, although it is an amazing thing that it is magnetic, it is also a con. So not mainly with this side of the panel, like this side of the panel goes on quite easily, but the other side where, of course, you do the cable management, that is not seen. Although I was able to get it to stay just fine, and it will continue to be staying on the computer just fine, it does have a tendency, if you like move it or maybe touch it a little bit, the magnet can pop off on one portion of the panel. So it'll just kind of hang there. It won't fully come off the case, but I have noticed that. Again, just a very small con just to mention to you guys if you were looking to getting this case. So with all that being said, I definitely recommend a build like this, especially this graphics card. Again, this was a huge upgrade to my previous build. Especially, again, the RX 580 was bottlenecking the Ryzen 7 3700X that is in this build. And of course, I didn't realize it at first because I was a novice. So obviously, again, I work in technology and I work in IT. I built computers, or at least repaired computers from an extent. I wasn't fully aware of how bottlenecking could affect a gaming PC's performance, or any PC's performance for that matter. But now with me having that knowledge now and going forward, I definitely shouldn't have an issue with bottlenecks, especially when building a computer. Every part that has been used in this build will be in the description below in case you guys are looking to purchase any of these parts for your build. Yeah, thank you guys so much for joining me on this. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, be notified whenever I post. Gives the video a huge thumbs up, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. It's been DJB. Peace out.